Hello students. Yesterday we had our writing lesson, which is in Unit 6 that we have here. Now in the writing lesson, we talked about communication in general, and in the lesson we had different types of communication. Now basically we have two kinds of communication. One can be verbal, which is by language, and the other is non-verbal. And we had the essay or the passage, which is in the writing lesson, talking about non-verbal language. After that, we had our assignment. Now, the assignment was to think of an Arab man or woman and a non-Arab man or woman, you know, personally or from TV. We had this comparison between these two personalities who are Noor and Sarah. Now, they are my choice. And we had this table to discuss about the different comparisons or the different things that we can add to the essay. Now, we were asked to write a comparative essay, which is to explain how two subjects are either similar or different. We used our notes, and within the notes here, we can complete the essay that we have here. You can see that we have the introduction or the main paragraph, we have the thesis, and after that we have the body, and at the end we have our conclusion. Now, closing up our writing lesson that we have here, we know that writing is actually forming sentences. Now, a sentence like the one that we have here, we are going to write the essay, We can also say we write different essays. Some of us enjoys writing. Some have already written the essay. So you can see that we have here different types of verbs. Now, some of them, like here, enjoy writing, we have the noun, or we have the gerund actually. We have, of course, going to write, which is the future. We write different essays, which is the present simple, and we have already written the essay. You can see that we have write, wrote, written, which is the past participle. Now, you can see that writing is in different forms. Now, speaking of forms, you can see that we have a lot of verbs here. We can, first of all, see that we have regular verbs that we add ed to them, like we have here prepared, opened, stayed, worked. And we have the other type, which are irregular verbs. And these irregular verbs like taught, forgiven, read, won, eaten, they are irregular verbs which have the whole form of the verb changing. And we have these two, which are has and have, that are auxiliary verbs, or we can say helping verbs. So basically, we have the auxiliary verbs, we have the regular, and we have the irregular verb here. We are going to focus on the present perfect tense, which means that we are going to focus on the auxiliary verbs has and have plus the irregular verb. Now we are starting our lesson, which is the form, meaning, and function lesson. Our objectives are to deduct the tense forms from examples, form sentences using the present perfect tense, differentiate between the two present perfect forms, use words connected to hobbies in sentences. Now, as we said, that we are going to discuss the present perfect tense, which is basically connecting, or it connects the past with the present. And we're going to revise how this is formed. Now, we have here the two types for the present perfect tense. We are going to use either has and have with the past participle, done, or we can use has and have with been plus the verb ing, as we have here in doing. Now, how is this formed? We're going to see. We have the first form, as we said, has and have plus the past participle. You can see that we have this table. Now, we do have the pronouns used for plural, and of course, they take have. We have these singular pronouns that take has, and either they are singular or plural, they come with the past participle tense. Now, this is the present perfect simple. We have the other, which is the present perfect progressive, meaning that we have here either using the plural or the singular, has and have, with been, as we mentioned before, and we have the verb ing. And because of the ing and because of the auxiliary verbs, this is the form of the present perfect progressive. Now moving on, to just give an example to explain the meaning here. Now, as we mentioned before, that we are going to connect between the past and the present. So we have here our example. They have worked on a lot of projects in Riyadh. Now you can see that we have here have worked, meaning that something started in the past and still is connected to the present. Because if it is something that is only in the past, we have used or should have used the past tense. But since it is still connected to the present, we have the present perfect here. Now we can see that we have here have plus worked, which is in the past participle form. Of course, it is a regular verb. That's why we have the ed. Now, they are still working. We can say that there is an effect in the present or something that is still continuing to the present time. Now we have the basic idea, which is the connection. Moving on, we can see we have this question. Which one should I use? Should I use has or have done or has and have been doing? So we're going to see here. We have these two examples. Now they seem to have the same meaning. He has lived there for 10 years. And we can say that he has been living there for 10 years. So just to suppose that we are talking about a person who is living in another city or another town. Now we can talk focusing on what is his accomplishment or what has he have or has he done actually. So we can say that we are focusing on the accomplishment done in the time, which is the important thing. Now here we are basically talking about the result or the action or the accomplishment. But in the second sentence we have here, he has been living there for 10 years. You can see that if we use has been plus the progressive tense, we are focusing on the time. So back to the person who is living in another town, I am focusing on the time. How many years has he lived outside our city? So we can see that we are focusing on the time. So if you are using the present perfect simple, you are focusing on the result or the action. If you are using the present perfect progressive, you are focusing on the time. Now moving on, we can use the present perfect progressive to talk about an annoying action or situation. Now, for example, I can say, I haven't slept at all. I have been working all night. You can see at the first sentence, or here, I haven't slept at all. We have haven't slept, which is the simple perfect, meaning that I am talking about my action. But in the other sentence, I have been working all night. I am focusing on the duration or the time of the action. Another example here, we can say that Sarah has been baking cupcakes since 12 p.m. We have here Sarah is singular. We have has been baking, and we are focusing on time, and we have the time, of course, mentioned, which is 12 p.m. Now, if you focus on the second sentence, we can see that we have here since 12 p.m. So we can see other examples here, and just put in mind the word since that we have in the first example. Now, reading the examples, we can say that we have the first one, Sandy and Amal have been discussing the differences more in behavior between men and women. Of course, we have here have, because we have two girls, plural. And you can see that we have here been plus the verb ing, which means that we are focusing on time. And at the very end of the sentence, we have the word for 2 hours. How many hours? 2 hours. The next example, they have decided that women talk about feelings more than men. We can say that we have here have decided. Now, what is the result of their discussion? Now, the result is the most important thing. That's why we have here the present, simple, perfect. And after that, we have here the question, how long have you been discussing stereotypes? We have here a question, how long? How long have you been discussing? Perfect, progressive. And here, how many times have you discussed this issue? So you can see that I'm asking how long. I'm asking about time or duration. And the second time, I'm asking about a number, which means or indicates result. Saeed has been driving since early this morning. Now we have here has been driving. And yet again, we have the same word that we mentioned before, which is since. We have here since early this morning. We can see that since here indicates or refers to the time that we have here mentioned, which means that he has been driving from the morning or since morning. He has driven 400 miles. We can see that we have here the simple perfect by using has driven. Now here we have the result. What is his result? That he has driven 400 miles. And we can see that basically we have the simple because of the number of the miles that we have. How long have you been driving? Also, I am asking about time. And in the last example, how many different models of car have you driven? I'm asking about a result or an action. Now, if you can see that I have the word since repeated once in the first example and here, and we do have 4 to hours. Now, since we have mentioned the word since and for, we are going to go back to the time expressions that we have mentioned before in our units. Now, time expressions with the present perfect progressive, we can use, for example, how long, for, since, all day, all week, all month, and all year. Now we have our example, they've been talking for over an hour. You can see that we have here for, over an hour, 1 hour, which means that we have a number mentioned. So we have the time expression for. Now using the present perfect tense with since and for, we are going to focus since with the present perfect tense means from that time. I have studied baking since 2017 to open my new or my own bakery store. Now here we have a period of time mentioned, so that's why we have the word since mentioned here. On the other hand, we have for with the present perfect tense is used for a period of time, a number, like we have in the first example. I have been studying baking for 3 years to open my own bakery store. So you can see that we have the same example, but one time I used since with a period of a time, and the other time I used for with a number for 3 years. Now, since we are talking about baking, which can be a hobby, we do have something in the book mentioned about words connected with hobbies and interests. So you can see that we have here a lot of words that are connected with popular free time activities. Now you can write, you can add your own. You can see that we have here playing sports and a lot of words that are connected to playing sports. Now we can say, for example, water sport, outdoors, keep fit, rewarding, and competition. So it's not just about sports, but words that are connected or related to sports. We have the same idea in reading books. We can see that we have, for example, detective stories, but we do have bookworm, entertaining, bookmark, novel, and writer. For words that are connected to collecting stamps, you can see that we have here stamps, comic books, happiness, fascination, satisfaction. You can see that there are also adjectives connected to the topic. We have here surfing the internet, for example, enjoyment, play games, educational, new information, and so on. So you are free to add and to just talk about or use the words to express your own activities or hobbies. Now, for example, Ahmed is a footballer. He has played every week since he was 10 years old. He plays in his local team and they have won many competitions and awards. Sally is a bookworm. She loves reading novels and poetry. One day she hopes to be a writer. Ali has always been fascinated with superheroes and comic books. They bring him much enjoyment and happiness, and he now has a collection of more than 1,000. Now you can see that we have the words that are connected to different activities, as well as using the present perfect. Now we have here, for example, Ali has always been fascinated. Or at the very beginning, he has played every week since he was 10 years old. Now you can apply the same idea. There is also another form that you can apply. Now, since you are going to talk about your personal activities and hobbies, you can use the form adjective plus preposition plus gerund. Now, for example, we have here, I'm not very good at playing sports. You can see that we have here good is the adjective, at is the preposition, and we have here playing is the gerund. So don't forget that the gerund is actually a verb, but it functions as a noun. I'm afraid of riding motorbikes. Adjective, preposition, and gerund. I'm interested in reading all sorts of stories. Adjective, preposition, and gerund in the sentence. So you can apply the form here. You can use either the present perfect, or you can try and use the form that we have here, which is to relate to an adjective, then followed by a preposition as you have here, and also a gerund. Now you do have your exercises in the book. Now, for example, we do have page number 92, ask and answer questions about the picture. Now it has been raining for 10 minutes. What have the people been doing during this time? Now we can use either the present perfect simple or the present perfect progressive. Now, for example, a lady has been sitting in a taxi for a long time. She looks fed up. We have the present perfect progressive. Two friends have been catching up over a cup of coffee. They have drunk 4 cups. You can see that we have the present perfect progressive and also the present perfect simple. A man has been directing traffic, which is the progressive perfect. A businessman has been talking on his phone. We have here also the present perfect progressive. The last example, a man with a bag has waited. We have here has waited, the present perfect simple, for a long time. You can also add time expressions. And we have here, he is soaking wet. Now you can apply your own examples. Just look at the picture in the book and you can come up with other ideas. We do have also our exercises, which are on pages 93. For example, we have here work in groups, find out about your classmates' hobbies and interests. So you can just follow the chart here that you have, and you can apply the rules that we have learned throughout our lesson. Now we have accomplished a lot. We have been doing projects since the beginning of the semester. We are going to move to our last part since we are talking about projects. Now we are going to talk also about communication. Now we have discussed the topic about the gender divide and how genders communicate together. So we are going to talk about communication in general. We have the word communication. We have our objectives. First, to list different types of communication. Compare between different types. Research about verbal and non-verbal communication as well as other types. Prepare project figure. Apply structure forms, vocabulary, and phrases that have been learned throughout the unit. So, dealing with the part of communication, we are going to search and look for the types of communication that we can use. Now, of course, we have here the regular type of communication that we know. We have also other types. Now, there are other methods. It's not just about using phones. We have here, think about the research and research methods that people have used to communicate with others throughout history. Now, for example, we have here Native Americans used to communicate through smoke signals. They used a blanket to cover and uncover the fire in order to make a specific number of smoke puffs rise. Someone at a distance could watch and interpret the smoke signals and understand the message that has or was being sent. So you can see that there is a way to communicate that is a very old or traditional way that the Indians used to use. And of course, there is no relation with the regular technology that we have. So you are free to think and research about different ways to communicate. Of course, we have here the old ways or the old methods. You can also talk about the new methods here. So you are going to work in pairs or groups, find out about different methods of communication that have been used through time and make notes in the chart. Now, we do have our chart in the book. You can see that there are 4 columns here. You can write about 4 methods. Now, put in mind that we have the first communication method. You're going to choose a description about each method. The time period, is it something new? Is it something old? How old was it? The place, the person or the group involved, the advantages and the disadvantages of this type of communication. So here you can think about different and interesting types of communication that people used to use. Now use your notes and the information that you have collected to prepare a PowerPoint presentation for your class. And remember always that the project in each unit relates to the unit's main topic. It is an activity in which you cooperate to perform a directed task. Now you can see that we have here Unit 6, we have discussed mainly about the gender divide. We had the different types of communication between men and women. We had our reading also about the gender divide and how people or how the genders connect with each other. We can see that we have also the grammar, which was about using the infinitive and the gerund. We have also, of course, our lesson, which is the form, meaning, and function lesson, where we talked about the present perfect, simple, and progressive, as well as using gerunds with the adjective and the preposition. Now you can see that also there is something about hobbies and activities that can you add. We had our conversation between Fahad and Faisal and how they both got lost and they used different expressions to ask for directions, and they were given also directions by using different phrases. We have the real talk. We have also the listening part that was also about different types of communication here. Now you can see that we have completed our last unit. In our outline for the day, we have used the present perfect in sentences. We used words connected to hobbies and interests in sentences. We formed sentences using the structure adjective plus preposition plus gerund. And after that, we do have our project, which is the last lesson that we have here. Now we have the brainstorming, researching, and discussing how to present a different form of communication and think about different methods. Of course, you are going to connect your ideas and main points, and you are going to work as a symbiotic team and connect between all the points that I have mentioned before. Now, we have the last unit completed. We have passed and studied all the units that we have. Now, number 1, which was about teamwork, and 2 is better than 1. Then we had something about famous figures in Unit 2, which was about rags to riches and how people succeeded from being something very poor, and then they became rich and they became successful in their lives. Moving on, we had something dealing with the future and what will they think of next and all the projects and accomplishments that can happen in the future and the ideas. We have also Unit 4, which was about basically Unit 4 was basically about TV and movies and what to watch. We have here the world of TV. We moved on to Unit 5, which was about advertisements and shopping. And the basic question was, would you buy it? Now we have accomplished the last unit, which was about the gender divide in general. So we have done the work and the studying that we have in the other units actually. We have completed our book, the syllabus, which is English 5. So we have completed our book, as you have seen. I hope for you the best. Keep up the good work and good luck.